All right, that worked. Take it away, Jeff.
All right. Well, I have to apologize ahead of time. My daughter's dog is haunting the upstairs and is quite a whiny dog. So we may hear some overflow from that. Anyway, tonight's movie was The Piano by Jane Campion, which by itself is quite notable because it was the first, I think, female to get the Palme d'Or, and she is the first New Zealand prize winner and so forth, and wrote the movie herself and directed it and so forth. So she was involved in many phases of this. It's a movie from 1993, but it's kind of a period piece starring Holly Hunter, Anna Paquin, Sam Neill, and Harvey Keitel. The general plot, as you all know, is that Anna Paquin has been essentially arranged to marry the Sam Neill character, Alistair Stewart. And no?
Holly Hunter, Ada.
I'm sorry, who did I say? Anna Paquin?
Anna Paquin.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry. I was reading and not thinking. Yeah, Holly Hunter is Ada McGrath, and she has a daughter, Flora, who is Anna Paquin. And there's apparently an arranged marriage in this remote location to Alistair Stewart, who is a frontiersman. And in the neighborhood is a guy named George Baines, who is a sailor who has kind of settled down in this sort of extreme location. And Holly Hunter's character has been mute since age 6, but she communicates with sign language through Flora. She's really the only one around who can really read the sign language or speak it, and through her piano. Although there is the question of whether she and I didn't find this in the movie someplace, but I saw it on Wikipedia. Maybe I just missed a small section where supposedly she had seduced Flora's father, who was a piano teacher, through telepathy. And so that's how Flora made the scene. But that piano teacher got spooked and didn't stay with them. So anyways, there's some question about her having some telepathic capabilities for communication as well. And there is a scene later on where Alistair feels like she spoke directly to him. So there's that kind of mystical component as well. And she made some comment at some point to her daughter, who conveyed that to everybody else, that says something about if you listen closely to people, you understand that what they're saying is really not worth listening to most of the time. So she's kind of that ilk. Anyway, she's a very good piano player, and she has had this handmade piano transported to the island with her. It makes a very rough crossing. Looks like it's about to get lost, and they finally get it there and put it on the beach. And so Sam Neill and his native crowd come down. Actually, George Baines is kind of the leader of the native people, and they transport Ada's stuff back to the house, Sam Neill's house. But they say, we can't bring a piano. And she says, I got to have the piano. Well, no, you can't have the piano. We're just going to leave it here. So it sits out on the beach for an indeterminate period of time, which I would think would pretty much trash any kind of a piano like that. But it survives. And eventually she's down there on the beach. And I think that's when George Baines hears her playing, and he decides he wants to, I think he had this in mind all along. He's going to get this piano, and then he's going to invite her over to teach him piano lessons, which sounds like an innocent enough way to go about this. And his real idea is that he would like to get intimate with Ada, and he progressively does that. They barter the black keys to determine if she'll do a little bit of this, a little bit of that with him. And sometimes they'll say, okay, it's 2 keys. I'm going to lift up my skirt a little bit over my ankle and so forth. And so there's an easing into this relationship. Meanwhile, she's very cold to to Alistair's character, or to Sam Neill's character, Alistair. And he really is a sincere guy. He wants to be her husband, and he admires her piano playing, but he also is a very basic guy, and he doesn't really quite get the whole piano thing. So there's a kind of a cold relationship there. As time goes by, he begins to realize, and the picture that I have behind me is Sam Neill finally witnessing that Ada and George have become very intimate. They're lovers at this point. He gets furious at her. He tries to take her by force, and that doesn't work out well. Later, she kind of warms up to him a little bit, but that never really comes along. And there's a scene where she decides George has basically said, I don't want anything to do with you. I got to get out of here. I'm not going to be able to do this. You're kind of becoming a whore because you're coming over and doing this stuff at my house with the piano, and it's just not okay. So I'm done. She sends over a piano key that she has very intricately designed as a love note to him, and sends it with Flora because Alistair has told her she cannot go over to see George. So Flora starts over there with this, but she knows what it is, and she instead takes it to Alistair, who looks at it and is infuriated, and then takes that out on her by going in and chopping off her right index finger with an axe. Kind of a brutal scene and reminiscent of another musician's amputation that we have seen in the past. Thanks very much, Terry, for that. As time goes by, it just becomes clear that relationship there's not going to work, and she's got to leave. So she takes off, and they are in a boat, and she's about to go out over, they're going back toward the mainland with the piano. She's taking the piano with her, and she gets this idea in her head. She doesn't want the piano anymore. She tries to throw it overboard. And as she's doing that, the rope from the piano wraps around her leg and pulls her into the water, nearly drowning. She goes most far down in the water until her shoe finally comes off. She does decide she doesn't want to drown, comes back up, and then eventually she moves back to wherever she came from, and George is with her and Flora's with her, and they kind of settle down, and she teaches piano lessons. She's taking lessons to learn to speak, and things kind of settle down. But interestingly, I read somewhere in the whole discussion about this that Campion actually, when she originally wrote this, had Ada drown, go to the bottom with the piano, which would in a way be kind of a symmetric ending. Anyway, the setting I thought was fantastic. It was very, very primitive, and it really fed into the story. The characters I thought really embodied this. I was interested that Sigourney Weaver was the first choice for Ada, but there were a couple of other people that couldn't take the part, and eventually they settled on Holly Hunter, which I think was a really good choice. As most of you probably know, Paquin was the youngest ever Academy Award winner. She was 11 years old when she did this movie, and she won Best Supporting Actress. This movie won a lot of awards. I'm not even going to try to enumerate them, but if you look on Wikipedia, there's Palme d'Or, there are 3 Academy Awards, and on and on. It was very well received. Monetarily, the budget was about $7 million. It made $40.2 million. its initial circulation, I guess, and about 39 million of that was in the United States. It was well received in Australia. It was well received in Europe, and so it was quite a good commercial success, along with winning those multiple awards. I found it to be interesting that it held my interest very well through the movie, and I hope it was enjoyable to other people. So, what do you guys think?
Jeff, well, you were kind of cutting out a little bit when you right before. I didn't hear what you said as far as when her foot gets in. That looked to me to be intentional on her part. She was going to take her own life. Is that what you were suggesting there, or if that was accidental?
I couldn't completely tell. I think that she was desperate at that point, and she didn't want the piano. And I think she looked at that as thought, maybe that could just take care of this for me. But I don't know. I mean,
the camera shot looked like she intentionally inserted her foot into the rope. Yeah, and then when she got underwater, she had a change of heart and freed herself and came back up to the surface. So
yeah.
Who were the indigenous people on that island there? What tribe was that? Do you know? I mean,
the Maori, I think.
Maori.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I was curious also about the white settlers. I was trying to pick up on their accents, where they were from. The two ladies and all the people that put on the pageant or play or whatever. I was trying to figure out where they were. I couldn't quite pick up on their accent.
They sounded Scottish to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Huh. And Alistair Stewart sounds vaguely Scottish.
Yeah, right. Well, the movie proved to me that arranged marriages hardly ever work. No, I enjoyed the movie. The wave scenes at the beginning. I mean, it started off with a bang visually when they were bringing that boat to shore. I thought that was really powerful. I thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit like the woman with a dress on fire in terms of that trip in on the boat. Yeah. And the canvas being lost overboard and jumping in to rescue it and so forth. So I didn't mention, but the author Campion mentioned that there were 3 books or stories that inspired her. One was The Story of a New Zealand River, one was Wuthering Heights, and the other one was African Queen. So this all puts some ideas in her head for primitive settings and interactions.
I was a little disappointed. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I vaguely remember this movie coming out just because I thought the title of it was distinctive, but it also didn't interest me to compel me to go see it. I thought this was a damned interesting movie. I didn't know what to expect on it, and I understand now clearly why Holly Hunter won an Academy Award for this, and why the movie in general was so well received. I mean, there's some pretty good acting in here, and it's a compelling story. So I was very, very pleasantly surprised by this, because I didn't know enough about it to have any sort of opinion, and was walking into it a little very, very skeptical, and was pleasantly surprised. I thought the story was compelling. I thought the acting was great. I thought, for some reason, in my mind, and it's just me, I kept thinking that this was a penal colony, but it clearly wasn't. But it's just, I've read enough books, I think lately, that had a penal colony element in it, and so it was just kind of like in the front of my mind. But clearly it wasn't. It was a good story. Really enjoyed it. Really liked it, and was pleasantly surprised.
How much do you think the setting of this place played into it? I mean, it was nasty, actually. Lots of mud, lots of rain. The trees looked like they were mostly dead or burned out. It was a bleak environment.
Yeah, I noticed that a couple of times where you could see in the background smoking stumps, and then the ground was saturated with mud, and I was just kind of thinking, you know, how does the place become that bleak? I think it reinforced the isolation of where they were.
One thing that kept grabbing my attention, the old aunt that had the tea parties and stuff, Aunt Morag, I think, Carrie Walker, couldn't get past the mole on the face. Oh,
Oh,
and if you look close, it even had a hair coming out of it, which was like, all right, that's a lot of detail right there. But she was kind of a hoot, and I think she knew exactly what was going on the whole time. But several of the reviews I read, they're kind of running together for me, but Ada definitely played the 36 black keys. He thought there were 44. He says, okay, well, we'll split them in half. Well, no, there's 36, and she chose the black, meaning there would be fewer favors that she would have to do before she would get her piano back. So she used that for bargaining with George, and then decided how many keys each favor as such would cost him. And then see, Senses of Cinema is Joanna Di Mattia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but she called this the intimacy of touch. So there was the touch of desire, control, liberation, risk, pleasure, and violence. There was touch with the piano. There was touch with George, and then also with Alistair as well. So it's kind of interesting that it was called that, but I totally get it. Love the movie, Jeff. Good pick.
thanks. Glad you liked it.
I was kind of disappointed when Flora ratted out her mom there at the end, because if you remember at the beginning of the movie, she's establishing her ground rule. I'm not going to call him Papa. You know, she made it quite clear she wasn't going to. And then here she turns around and rats her mom out to him with very severe consequences. A little disappointed in Flora for that.
I think she was pretty
But
precocious.
it didn't seem to damage their relationship. You know, at the end.
I think she knew exactly what she was doing, that Alistair would kick them out or off of the island or wherever they were in New Zealand, and then her mom could be with George and she could be with George. So she was a very precocious child.
Yeah. May not have factored in the axe part of it, but you may be right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyone else?
Terry, got anything else to say besides the excellent opening?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. Yeah. Helped my it helped having Harvey Keitel in there. He's awesome.
I agree.
You know? Yeah, and I was a little upset with the daughter for ratting out her mom, but I guess maybe she saw the bigger picture that was going to happen. So, yeah, I liked it. I thought
George was a little scared.
The piano sitting out there in the surf, or it couldn't be there for very long at all before it would have been totally ruined.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was kind of wondering about, was the time span of this episode. I mean, it clearly wasn't. I never got a sense that it was a long period of time, but it was some. And then Terry, like you said, leaving a piano on a beach isn't going to last very long. So I don't know. It looked like, was that a Christmas festival in the movie? Okay, so it's maybe covered New Zealand summer. I'm not sure.
Wasn't it quite convenient to have a piano tuner living there too? I mean,
Exactly.
come on, guys. Tuning a piano is something that's a skill. You know, how many people know how to do that? So that was convenient.
It was in the script.
Maybe they had a piano at the church too or something. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, you know, an outpost like that, I'm going to call it an outpost. There was not a lot of other entertainment that you could do. So potentially a piano anywhere would be a source of entertainment for a lot of people. And I could sort of see why somebody would do that. There's kind of a longing theme in this too, where Ada would stand on the cliff and look out at her piano longingly, and then she had longing for George, and you know, stuff like that. There's a lot of sort of unfulfilled feelings in her situation.
I was glad it had a happy ending, though. You know, I mean, she paid a little bit of price there, but it ended on a positive note. I was happy about
I saw this movie when it first came out, and there's so much of it I forgot that it was almost like seeing it again. And it is a fantastic movie. The scenery takes you over. The people take you over. It's so different that you have to pay attention to see what's going on. And I'm surprised that when we were first talking, I think Chris and who else said they hadn't seen it.
I hadn't seen it.
Pete hadn't seen it. Mike hadn't seen it. I'm guessing Jeff, had you seen it? Jeff with a G?
No, I haven't.
So when that many people get sold on it, that tells you that it's a pretty damn good movie. Jeff,
And I'm kind of like Mahoney. The title when it came out, I remember when it came out, but the title or whatever did not lead me to pursue it. I obviously made a lot of assumptions about what it would be about, but I never watched it, and so I appreciate Jeff you recommending that movie because it was damn good.
I wanted to ask you, Jeff, if in your reading, if you ran across Jane Campion doing a series for now that we're into streaming and that sort of thing with Holly Hunter. It was about 5 or 6 years ago, I think, and it was in New Zealand. And Holly was a woman who took in women who were trying to get away from their men. That's kind of what the basis of the story was. They had a refuge there. If they could find her, then they would protect them, and they wouldn't have to worry about their boyfriends or whatever. And those boyfriends would just kind of disappear, which was part of the plot too, where we'll take care of these guys for you. Don't worry, But there was always a guy trying to break through that, that opening and get in the way. And I think one guy really paid the price, if I remember. But anyway, it was Campion had been working on this, and then when she was approached with, how about doing a series where we stream something? She said, I've got something, and they looked at what she had started, and they said, finish it. And then the first thing she did was she called Holly Hunter and said, would you like to be in this? And she goes, sure, I'm in. She knew what she was all about. So it was the bleak New Zealand landscape and all that sort of thing that gave them in this sense, it was a sense of sanctuary to try to get away from their ugly boyfriends and husbands. But I'm just curious if that was in the wiki story or not. I'll have to look that up, I guess, and find out what that was.
I didn't see it, but I didn't go to great lengths about this. I kind of read the core stuff that was available on Wikipedia.
One thing I wanted to point out, in my picture here, and I never can point right, this is when he came to her place, or she went to his house, I can't remember which, when they first got together, and she stepped into a little bit of light, and the light kind of lit up her heart when she saw him. And I don't know if anybody else saw that in the movie where she was kind of excited to see him the first time they got together. But and then later, as you know, they came back together again after the slaughter and all that. They looked at each other a lot more lovingly and whatever. But as far as love stories go, this is a great one. I'm not an expert on love story literature, but if I remember correctly, I saw this with a date, and it was something that it was a kind of a date type of movie until it got a little bit nasty in there. But like you said, it survived, and it ended up being a happy ending, and the two lovers got together. So it made for a nice tying up thing. And of course, was it last year, the year of the pig or whatever it was, where she worked with Campion worked with Bumber, what's his name, the English actor. They were hoping that what was his name, Bumbercratch or whatever his name was.
Oh, Cumberbatch.
Cumberbatch, there you go, something like that. Old folks Jeopardy. $50 on Cumberbatch.
Difficult names, yeah.
On British actors you can't pronounce. But anyway, there was a lot of talk then that she was going to win a second Oscar, and for a female director to win a second Oscar, really well. But I don't think she did. I think the movie scored well; it got a few Oscars, but she didn't. But she's still out there.
What was the movie, Mike? What was the movie?
The Year of the Pig, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It was a Western. It had two.
Wasn't that about a dog? Was something about the dog?
Year of the Dog. There you go. That's what it was.
Yeah, and there was the
Dog pig. Yeah.
Dog. Pig,
yeah. There was there was the kid, and then there was Benedict Cumberbatch, who was like this cowpoke, but he was also gay and in sort of a cowboy sort of way, and there was a lot of mystery, and that was an intense movie as well. Campion did that one?
Yeah, she was the director.
Ah, I forgot.
There was a lot of hope early. At least there was a lot of buzz about it that she was going to win a second time. And put her up there with some of the directors like Spielberg and Scorsese, who have done it 2 or 3 times or 4 or whatever. But I thought it was a great movie, and I'm glad you picked it. I'm glad we hadn't seen it before. It was there's a lot, a lot of people write books about movie reviews, so you can look them up if you want to before you go to the movies and that sort of thing. And I've seen several books that are this thick that say 10,000 movies since 1959. It's just amazing how many come out every year all over the world, and this just goes to show you that some of them are gems.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, I want to go back. I was sort of with you. I was very much with you in thinking that had she drowned at the end of the movie, it would have had some symmetry to it, and then they put Hollywood ending on it, happily ever after. But I thought had she gone ahead and committed suicide from the boat, that would have been a shocking ender, and would have been different and appropriate, and they didn't. I mean, did anybody else think that she should have? That's how they should have ended the movie, with her death rather than her rescue?
Oh,
Not me.
she got rescued. She rescued herself. Yeah,
right.
She kicked off her shoe so that the rope would go away. She changed her mind, and
I mean, when she's on the boat leaving Alistair with the band she loves and her piano, I mean, there's reason for optimism there. Yeah, she's missing a finger, but there's optimism there. So I would not have. I don't think I would have liked that kind of an ending, personally.
I think my interpretation was sort of colored by having read about the plot and the fact that Campion had considered just having her die at the end. So that was in my head when I was watching it, but I thought, as an alternative ending to what they had, that would have been a little, like you said, shocking, but kind of strong and memorable.
I thought when you said symmetrical or whatever, that's a good word. It would have fit. It would have fit very well. But when I first saw it, I can remember thinking that's what was going to happen, and I was surprised that it didn't. But this time I knew that she was gonna kick her shoe off and whatever, and I knew it was coming up. But as a first time watcher in the theater, I thought, well, if she can't have her piano and she can't play it, then why live? Maybe that's a good way to think.
That was not her primary, but a very, very strong means of expression for her.
That's true. Since she couldn't speak really, she spoke through the language of music. Yeah, and she did have her little thing that she wrote on when you were talking about her ways of communicating. She did have that.
Mm-hmm. And there's Flora, and for her to leave Flora would have been a very hard thing. They obviously, there's a scene where she's playing a piano in her sleep and Flora is right there with her, and they spend a lot of time together at Alistair's house because she doesn't go to Alistair. She hangs out with Flora. So they are playmates and friends and mother-daughter and in a lot of ways. So I think that relationship would have been, that would have been horrible for Flora to lose her that way at a young age. So I wonder if that played in. I can imagine that.
Yeah, they pretty much laid the groundwork for that, I guess, that she was very attached to Flora. And so, yeah, I guess even though it would have fit, it would have seemed maybe too much to leave Flora.
Well, given their circumstances, it would be hard for a mother and daughter not to be close together because it was them against a strange new world. So
yeah, that's a good point, Michael.
Wasn't like Flora had a cell phone. The other thing is Flora was a lot nicer than the fauna in the area.
Oh, boy.
Uh-huh.
You can let yourself out, Jeff.
It's a little Zappa flavor, which always takes a little bit of forbearance.
Well, great pick, Jeff.
What did you think?
I'm going to be the off-key reviewer.
Okay.
I wasn't really a fan, to be honest. The acting was great. It's a testament to their acting ability that it made me dislike the characters so much. And the metal finger was cool. But right from the beginning, her father sells or gives her away. Just that set the tone to me for a really distasteful story. And then she goes to this just crap hole place. I don't know why anybody would have lived there in the first place, but it's just a mud hole. Then you got the two perverted characters. The one guy that essentially gives her the piano in exchange for getting his jollies, and then her husband who gets his jollies by watching, and then the daughter that gives her up and gets her finger chopped off. I just, one thing after another just, wasn't for me. But and then at the end, Mike, like you said, if she had died at the end, that would have even made it worse for me, because I don't know, maybe I'm too robotic, but people acting in just crazy emotional ways rather than being more logical and figuring, I can't leave my daughter like this and just commit suicide. I mean, that would have just been, I would have turned it off. So, I don't know. So obviously I'm the odd one out and won all kinds of awards, but I wasn't a fan. So.
What's the time period for this movie? When is this to have taken place?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know either. I would say it would be the late 1800s.
Yeah.
When New Zealand was kind of a new frontier then. And Australia was the penal colony.
Yeah.
As we all well know. But,
You're right,
you
though.
know,
Jeff with the G. I mean, that was a pretty dismal place. How bad did Alistair's life have to suck in Scotland if he leaves there to go to this place? It must have really been a part where he was coming from to go here. I don't know.
I'm not sure what it was he was doing. He made some comment about the indigenous people not doing anything with their land, I can't remember the words he used, but not farming it or, using it in any way. But then, we saw him putting fence posts on land that I don't know what you could do with. Sure didn't look farmable. And the guy sold him 80 acres for a piano. Land couldn't have been worth a lot. Now, Mike, you're muted.
Bill?
Yeah, there was one point where I thought he was trying to buy some natives' land, and the islanders were going, this is the land of our ancestors. This is where they're buried. We're not interested in doing anything with it, and you shouldn't either. So I presume he was trying to be a farmer of some sort.
Did he close the deal with guns though? Didn't they agree to the purchase when he pulled the guns out? Yeah.
Did they accept the guns? Or I thought they went marching back with the guns and they're still in their hands.
Oh, I thought Alistair made some marking off the property or something there. I might have misinterpreted that, but they weren't having it with the buttons. That didn't do anything for them.
Yeah.
No, it's like, really?
We saw that Manhattan trick. Don't bring that down here.
We don't need no stinking buttons.
I like a good Aussie Western now and again, and the landscape makes for it could be the Badlands of South Dakota, it could be the desert of the Southwest. It really looks like, especially when you put it in that period, I could see John Wayne, doing something down there.
Yeah, sure.
It's got a lot going for it, I think, as far as that goes. And they've been doing more of them lately. They've got quite a film commission between New Zealand and Australia, but they try to invite down as much of the Hollywood folks as they can.
Well, it was filmed partially in Australia, wasn't it?
Was it?
Looking for information about the production here.
It wouldn't surprise me. It seems like in the credits it came up and it said the Australian Film Commission. So I'm sure they contributed somehow.
Well, folks, it's a quarter till almost. Do we want to move to whoever has next week, and then we can talk about side picks or what we've been watching? Who has the pick for next week?
Donna.
Donna does.
Oh.
And she was going to leave it with Bill.
Oh, okay.
But she gave it to all of us last week, and it was called Vengeance.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, that's
okay.
right. Yeah.
And I think it's on Prime. I hope that's the Vengeance that she was talking about.
I believe it was. Yeah. With
What was it again?
Ashton Kutcher is in that.
Ashton Kutcher.
Vengeance.
Vengeance.
Yeah.
Vengeance.
Thank you, Chris.
Welcome. Well, I rewatched Where the Crawdads Sing this past week and just loved the book and had seen the movie twice. And I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but it's a good one.
I've seen it. And
I
read
have
the
as
book.
well. Yes.
I read the book too.
Yeah. It's very good. Then there's another one called Guest Artist, and it's Jeff Daniels. He wrote the movie or the script, and he also acts in it as well. And it's about an old sot of a playwright that goes to Lima, Michigan to try to help them with their program, their acting program, because his agent can't get any other kind of work for him. But almost the entire thing takes place inside of the train station in Lima, Michigan, and it's pretty interesting.
Is that new or has that been out for a while?
It came out in 2019. It wasn't a real big one. It won some of the smaller film festival awards, but it's kind of good. It's interesting.
If you would please give me the name again. I was jotting down other stuff.
Yes. Guest Artist.
Guest artist, okay.
Mm.
Anybody else?
Who's been watching what?
I've continued to watch Rabbit Hole, but I'm not absolutely sure why. It's kind of a weird series. And we're still piecing little bits of All the Murders in the Building, which has a fairly big fan base. And I think the morning show has released an additional episode or two. Cindy's been watching that more than I have, but it's pretty dramatic.
I finished The Changeling on Apple. It was a 6-part series, and it's a horror piece. It didn't really end. It was one of where the last episode sets the stage for season 2, which will probably come out after Christmas or something. I thought it was still pretty good. It was kind of like Rosemary's Baby on acid.
Oh,
Instead of Canis root, there's a little LSD in there, huh?
Well, I mean, this couple meets, they have a child, and then she decides that it's not her baby and that it needs to be killed. And so the husband is trying to do everything he can to keep the baby alive, and his wife gets taken off to an island. Here we go. It's all women. And Jane Campion, who used to be on Malcolm in the Middle, is a lady who runs this island and doesn't want anyone to know that they're right off of Manhattan. They're near Rikers Island somewhere. And so anyway, it's they don't let the men come there, and they don't let the women out. But I thought it was worth watching. I wish they wouldn't do this thing where you have to wait a week at a time. That one, new episodes came out every Friday, so I had to wait a whole week to get another episode, and I just hated it. But otherwise, it was fun. And then I've got just a recommendation that I ran into, and I'd never heard of it, but I think it's going to be good. It's called St. Vincent. It's from 2019, and it's Bill Murray and Jennifer McCarthy.
oh, a good one.
Have you seen
I've
it?
seen that. It is.
Yes.
Oh,
That's good.
Yes.
Bill Murray is our patron saint, Chris and Jeff with a G. For a long time, we've been trying to get a hold of his 800 number and invite him to be on the film critic bunch here for a guest appearance, but we've never been able to get a hold of him. But if you know anybody that knows somebody that knows where that 800 number is. Let us know.
Okay.
Well, we're right in our golden wing of opportunity because he's still on strike.
Oh, that's right. I never thought of that. He would have some time on his hands, wouldn't he?
But if we record this, does that violate his strike?
Hmm.
Well, I don't know. We're unpaid film critics. We're not worried about. We're not on strike. We're just.
Yeah, okay,
And,
He wouldn't be
and
getting
we wouldn't be, and we wouldn't be paying him.
Right.
yeah,
We're not paid. We're not paying him. So
Exactly.
okay. It's all about the money, always.
always. Yeah.
Well, listen here, I've got dinner waiting, so I'm gonna beg out here. Anything else?
We have any other recommendations?
Gone.
I think
Jeff, it was
maybe
a very, very stimulating movie. I really enjoyed it.
absolutely,
I'm glad
Jeff.
you picked
Well
it.
done. Well done.
Good job.
Glad
right.
everybody, almost everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for your comments, Jeff. I appreciate the willingness to say that.
All right. Good night,
All
guys.
right.
All right.
Take care.
Good night.
See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks, folks.
Bye.
Bye.